Monday, February 24th, 2025. The Monday after the opening weekend of Major League Soccer's 30th season of competition. I'm Robert. He's Jason. What were the big takeaways for this weekend? I mean, it was a smorgasbord of soccer. There's 30 teams in the league now. Lots of games to dissect. Lots of big moments. If you were to pick a couple, what would they be, Mr. Davis?
Well, I was going to let you start, Robert. You would keep talking about how much soccer you were consuming, and you got very excited when we were planning the show to talk about particularly the games that kicked off, I believe, 8:30 Eastern time. So that would have been the Central Time Zone games, I think is how you think about that. And I know that there is a particular team you have a connection to that made an impression. Maybe not a great one initially.
So I spent a many years in Chicago, and the first team I covered, MLS team I covered at any length was Chicago Fire, and I've always kind of kept a sideways eye on them, checked their progress, and it's been pretty bleak. I think most will admit, but their opening weekend game in Columbus certainly was entertaining. It always hasn't been like that, or hasn't recently been exciting for Chicago Fire.
Look at the old badge.
There you go.
Pull this off the rack. Look at the old badge there.
If Peter Wilt is tuned in again, there you go. He prefers that one, I'm sure.
Do you know why it says 12, Robert? Why it says 12 right here?
2012?
2012. This shirt is from 2012. That's how old that shirt is.
I hate to date myself, but that's like peak life right there.
Things were going. I won't say good for me, but things were going. All right. So the Fire make an impression. Okay. Tell me your takeaways.
All right. So there was a lot of exciting players, and there was a lot of exciting moments, but I got to say, Chicago Fire, they didn't win. They lost 2-4 in Columbus Crew on their opening weekend, but Jonathan Bamba, new acquisition coming in from Celta Vigo, linked up really well with your young homegrown midfielder, scored 2 goals in the first half that were probably more fun than most Fire fans have had in a very time. We won't talk about the embarrassing moments that will probably scar your psyche forever with the own goal and the pass to the opponent within your own 18-yard box. I mean, we'll compartmentalize that for now, but rejoice in Jonathan Bamba. May he be healthy and as exciting as he was on opening weekend for you Fire fans.
I have been waiting, I think, for Brian Gutierrez to level up for a while, and it's partly the problem has been that he's been on not good teams, and so it's hard for Brian Gutierrez to stand out when he's on not good teams in Chicago. And I think maybe this is the year. If Greg's got something cooking, and if they don't make those mistakes at the back that you talked about, the gifted Columbus goals, maybe Brian Gutierrez at 21 years old is ready for his moment in the sun. And, whether that means eventually some national team looks or just, maybe a move abroad or something. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. And obviously for Fire fans, what they want to see is Brian Gutierrez be the key to a playoff season, in Chicago.
That opening, I think, 30, 45 minutes between Jonathan Bamba and Brian Gutierrez was probably more chemistry than Xherdan Shaqiri had with any of his teammates in his 2+ years. And I'm a big Shaqiri fan, but he was not what the Chicago Fire needed. And it was good to see. I mean, the result, there was some stuff where you're probably thinking about putting a paper bag over your face, but at least Jonathan Bamba looks like an exciting player, that counterattack threat. So if you're pinned back a lot this season, you have an outlet that you haven't had. It's possibly exciting times in Chicago if they clean up the mess at the back.
I will point out, so wild. Xherdan Shaqiri left Chicago after a disastrous stint, went back to Switzerland, and is playing there in Switzerland at Basel, and has already scored 10 goals in all comps in Switzerland, which is just, I mean, come on. Now,
what's worse than a Martial? I mean, come on.
All right. So I will move us on here. I will talk about the expansion team, the San Diego FC, first ever game against the defending MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy. Now, this is a different Galaxy than we saw win the title last year. I mean, obviously Ricky Puig is not there,
Mm-hmm.
but Joseph Pancil is out injured. They obviously had to sell Dejan Joveljic. Lots of changes in Los Angeles that maybe they weren't thrilled about undertaking. But give San Diego credit. I mean, they were conservative for the most part, as you would expect a new expansion team to be. But Anders Dreyer, another one of those goals coming from a mistake, another mistake at the back, which was a theme from the MLS weekend.
The whole weekend.
Lots of managers were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play out of the back, guys. We're going to stick to our philosophy. We're going to play out of the back. And then it's like, oh, it's the first game of the season and everybody's still rusty and nobody really knows how to do this. We're just going to give up goals. So Dreyer benefited from one of those from the Galaxy, but it's still a big moment for San Diego to win a game, right? There have been expansion teams that have had to wait a long time before they won their first game in this league. And San Diego did not have to, and they did it in the home of a potential rival, depending on how things develop in Southern California.
From your view, did that result seem like something they could replicate, or was it just could that have been a blip because they were gifted a little bit?
I mean, I think there are reasons for hope that they will be competitive. I did pick them to finish last. I'm just going on history, right? I'm just going on how hard it is as an expansion team in Major League Soccer to find joy. But I think there's reason for hope if you're a San Diego fan. I mean, their structure is good. They were opportunistic, which you definitely need to be. The margins are small in MLS. So if you can take advantage of a couple of mistakes, maybe make set pieces work for you, you will win enough games to be competitive.
My second takeaway of the MLS opening weekend, the 8:30 window in general was really good fun watching on MLS 360, but I had to chisel it down. What the key takeaways? Atlanta, the Benz is totally back. I mean, we saw this with that late season playoff run that they had, the excitement, the volume there, and there was just so much to enjoy with that. The new signings of Latte Lath, the new coach pushing the right buttons, then the volume was just incredible. Seeing Almiron back, and he had a positive contribution. It seemed like the old times were back for the Five Stripes, and that was really exciting to see. There was fun little moments. I think someone's kid ran onto the field during anthems, and there was obviously the big celebrations. Their new signing gets 2 goals, and obviously there was a little bit of some good poaching, taking advantage of some bad Montreal defense, but I mean that pressure of that record-breaking transfer fee, that's off the shoulders right off the bat. That was a fun watch.
Yeah. I mean, when you spend that much money on a player, when a player comes in with that kind of expectation, there is pressure to deliver. And if it's one of those things where if it doesn't happen right away, 1, 2, 3, 4 games in, it starts to become this psychological problem, and it's weighing on the player, it's weighing on the team. No issues for Latte Lath in that game to score goals, and not the goals he was hired or signed to score. Right? That's not what you want. Any kind of goal you can get from him, of course. But my point is, when you look at his profile as a player, those aren't the goals that you're like, yeah, he's going to score a bunch of those. So those are almost like bonus goals. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Do you expect that guy to rise up and score a header on a set piece? He's not that guy. He's not that kind of center forward. Do you expect him to poach the way that he did on the other goal? I mean, he's supposed to be out in space, running with Miggy, making things happen like that. He's more of a Denis Bouanga kind of player than he is, say, I don't know, give me a good example, right? I was going to say Chris Wondolowski, but Wanda wasn't great with his head. I'm trying to think of a player who can do it. He's not supposed to be that kind of player. He's supposed to, so that's good. What I'm saying is, this is the kind of thing that you look at if you're an Atlanta fan and think, oh, we're getting that, and we still have the speed. We still have that weapon that he hasn't actually used yet in a big way. Watch out. Watch out Eastern Conference. Watch out Major League Soccer.
Latte Lath, I mean, his player type and then his pedigree of how prestigious of a scorer he was at the championship level. Yeah. And you have to score like every kind of goal in the championship. You have to get the scrappy ones and the pretty ones, and just the volume of games and the attritional nature of that league, I think, probably set him up pretty good for success. Do I sneak in my second in the 8:30 window, or do you want to have your final point of the day?
Well, I mean, it's Lionel Messi that you were going to talk about, so I think you have to mention Lionel Messi.
Inter Miami. Okay, so there was a lot of calamities. There was a lot of exciting stuff in the MLS opening weekend, but there was also many calamities. And Inter Miami, for most of that game, their performance was a bit of a calamity, but they scraped by and got themselves an opening day draw. Like it was messy. It was messy.
It doesn't help.
No pun intended.
It doesn't help when Tomas Aviles gets himself sent off.
Whew.
Right? That is just ridiculous from him. So you're going to wonder if there's going to be a reckoning. You know what I was struck by, Robert? I mean, obviously, Messi playing a role in both goals to save Miami when they really probably had no business winning that game. I also was struck by how emotional Mascherano was. Like, just how into it he was and how crazy he went when Miami got the equalizer. I think that was a sequence of events. It was like, oh, okay, we're not going to get like, I mean, look, he was an emotional player. I don't know what I would expect, but, you know, you remember Tata Martino. Tata was buttoned up. I mean, he's got the professorial thing.
He was a very professional guy.
He might have yelled a bit. I do remember, you know, there's plenty of times Tata was screaming, referees, players, that kind of thing. But can you imagine, I mean, age difference is a factor here, but can you imagine Tata Martino like running down the sideline, double fist pumping the way that Mascherano was? I don't think so. It's so funny. It just, you know, it was something that struck me. I don't even know if I have an opinion about it. It's just something that struck me about the way this will go for Miami this season.
Well, Mascherano is pretty early in his coaching career. We've talked about that. I mean, just scant experience coming into this Inter Miami head coaching job. And, you know, while he was, you know, some may argue about his qualifications to get the job, that pressure is still there, no doubt. And he's going to have to get those results. So while, you know, will we see him grow into this job? Is he going to get emotional and flame out because he's underprepared? Or are we going to see him, you know, take those steps and become that, you know, more polished and rounded coach as we proceed?
Well, that's interesting. You know, again, how much is Messi co-coaching this team? That's a thing. Or Sergio Busquets, for that matter, right? And Jordi Alba was among the ranks of mistake makers at the back with the gift.
Yeah, that's a red flag right there. I think if your core is making those mistakes, then
I mean, look, everybody's rusty, right? Everybody's rusty. I think it's fair to say that. The Segovia goal off the pass from Messi, beautiful things for Inter Miami. All right, I'm going to sneak one in. I know we have like very little time left in this segment, but I'm going to sneak one in just because it's important. FC Cincinnati gets a goal from Kevin Denke. As they win their opener, I think they're going to be very good. Evander maybe wasn't quite there yet. Again, it's pretty recent that he's arrived. Maybe fitness is a thing. He did have one moment with a nutmeg that I think stood out for a lot of people. But again, Cincinnati is going to win a lot of 1-0 games. That's the kind of team that they are. They're built to do that. So and they don't even have, again, Lucas Orellano is not back. I don't believe they have the issue with Matt Miazga is still injured. So, you know, there are some things that are still to come for Cincinnati, and I think that they can be encouraged by the way that they won that game.
If Atlanta hadn't have broken the record a couple weeks after, we'd be talking about Denke, the transfer record holder, getting the monkey off his back, so to speak.
Yep,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, that couldn't have been a better debut for their big spend for FC Cincinnati. He looked just as bit as exciting as Jonathan Bamba did for the Fire. I mean, he scored a goal. He was kind of their everywhere guy, to be honest. Every time 360 cut to the Cincinnati game, he was in the mix of it, bringing balls down, spraying it, also finishing it. He really looked. I mean, he has that energy and enthusiasm, you know, throughout the long season. Cincinnati could be having a really fun 2025 season with him in the lineup.
Yep, absolutely. MLS,
all right,
it's underway.
Yeah, week 1 done, and we shall have many more exciting games. And how many more playing out of the back problems will we see before that rounds out, do you think?
Let's hope that those numbers, because the league's fun, entertaining, and there's some good soccer being played. Let's hope the number of when playing out of the back goes wrong, starts to get smaller as we move forward.
We're on the march to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Morning Kick Around YouTube. We are on the march to 1,000, and you could be the next, and then your people could be the very next to hit that button right after you. So do that. Morning Kick Around on YouTube.com. Follow us on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. Write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. Get involved with the show. And then if you want to help out financially, ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. One-time or regularly scheduled donations. Anything will help expand and stabilize this program.